Introduction by Pura Santillan Castrense. Freshness and robustness of spirit indeed define Gonzalez's stories. Having the gift of vivid description, he utilizes it to its full extent in depicting a background which strikes the reader, especially such as knows those settings in his own personal experience with longing which is close to nostalgia. Mr. Gonzalez writes serenely and hurriedly, now of a pioneer starting on a clearing in the wilderness, now of a young couple seeing life together for the first time and knowing passionately that their life is wedded to the soil too. When he talks about these elementals in that calm way he has, both as a man and as a writer, he invariably gives a certain indefinable quality to what he has to say, which reminds one of the classical writers or of biblical stories. Some of Perlbach's descriptions of Chinese farm life give the same feeling of oneness with a strong elemental force. Epics produce the same effect. There are 12 tales in this collection, and their range of subject is rather limited, but within the range can be seen the scope of the writer's grasp of human nature, lusty, peasant human nature in the varied settings of life. There is perhaps only one other Filipino writer who has this early quality to such a degree of compactness as Mr. Gonzalez has. That is the late Manuel E. Argilla, who died in the guerrilla movement of the last war. Of him, Mr. A.V.H. Hartendorp, the editor of the pre-war Philippine magazine, the nearest to a literary magazine that we ever had in the Philippines, had only praise and faith. Of Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Hartendorp says, N.V.M. Gonzalez is already well known for his authentic stories of Philippine backwoods life that have a strange, mystical quality and undefinable beauty. Mr. Gonzalez writes of his own island, and it is to that the absolute authenticity of his stories must be ascribed. I was reading an introduction to a little anthology of Russian short stories. It described the keynote to the whole of Russian literature as simplicity, naturalness, ferociousness. I believe that whether that is true or not of all Russian literature, it was true of the particular selections in the anthology, and that keynote is certainly what I would apply to N.V.M. Gonzalez's book of short stories. The stories are simple to the extent of being elemental. They are natural, with the naturalness of peasant folk, ferocious because they are sincere, earnest, and sophisticated. The reader does not feel that a raconteur streak is being played on him, say, a dramatic ending, an unexpected denouement. W. Somerset Maugham and O. Henry might have made him feel such a trick, which he might very well have resented. One feels that the stories err on the side of understatement most of the time, and silently reproaches the author for leaving so much untold. An American friend of mine, to whom I had sent a copy of this book, declared that at first she thought the author used the mood motif too much. There was no story at all in some of the stories, but later she found herself haunted by what she had read, its quietness, its deep background pictures, and thus she wrote, I am intrigued by the power of this man to evoke in his reader the sense of significance of elemental things. I wrote back that the author of 7 Hills Away has written also a prize-winning book called The Winds of April, and is preparing another one on snatches of city life. Apparently, Mr. Gonzalez does not want to delimit the bounds of his subject matter by confining himself to rural life. He wants to depict urban life too, in its starkness, its nervousness, the gentleness beneath the hurry, the human heart beneath all the artificiality, the glitter and sophistication. He knows rural life well, as has been shown by the diverse aspects of it portrayed in Seven Hills Away, wherein, as I said, the farmer's life is pictured in its various phases. There is the story of the pioneer, which reminds one of stories of the clear settlers in America. There is the recounting of rich and interesting tales of superstition and folk beliefs, as in Far Horizons and Life and Death in Amidoro Kaingin. There is mother love, as in The Planting, wifely love, its devotion, and near tragedy, as in All in the Moon. There is man's greed and man's inhumanity to man, as in White Mare in the Corn, and in the splendid story Hunger in Baruch. There is the craft and cunning of the needy as exemplified in the little details here and there in different stories. There is the decay of man due to age and moral deterioration, as in The Old Priest. There is hope as shown in the story, The Baby, or despair in the presence of death and injustice, as in Pare Lucio. There is courage before great disasters, as in the tale Seven Hills Away. Singing joy because of a bright future, a young peasant boy is on his way to town to get an education, as in The Happiest Boy in the World. N.V.M. Gonzalez, among our writers, has preserved, in beautiful English, the Filipino soul. Whatever else may be said of his writing, especially in this book, that it is humorless, that it is too simple, that some stories have no plot. He has written about the Filipino as a Filipino farmer, and has written with deep sincerity and absolute integrity.